Hello everybody, this is Jerry Mateo with In the DAW, here with you on behalf of Pulsar Modular. Today we're going to be taking a look at the P450 MDN EQ. This is our newest EQ, and as you can see, it is an analog style EQ inspired by the 5500 EQ. One thing that makes our EQ different than the original hardware unit is that Pulsar Modular's audio equipment designer, Ziad Sidawi, has actually tuned and tweaked how the high and high mid filters interact with the analog emulations in order to give us a smoother top end that will give you a much more usable tone when you're using higher amounts of gain in the high and high mid frequencies. All of this works together to give us an even smoother high and high mid boost than the original hardware could provide. Taking a look at the overall UI, this is a pretty simple plugin to understand. We have 4 bands of EQ, each one with fixed frequency bands: high, high mid, and low. The high and low band will both be able to switch between bell and shelving, and you will have up to 12 dBs of plus and minus gain. Keep in mind that the gain knobs actually work in tandem with the bias knob. The more gain that you have, the more internal saturation will be built up, and by increasing the bias knob, you will actually increase the amount of overall harmonics that get generated. The switch in the middle is going to give you our stepped gain option. We have ×1, ×0.5, and ×0.25. This will give you 12 dBs, 6 dBs, or 3 dBs of gain. This will allow you to saturate the same amount using the bias knob without actually having a huge amount of gain coming out and processing your signal. We have high and low pass filters right here. Green is going to be our high cut or low pass, and gray is going to be our low cut or high pass. You simply click on the button and it will instantiate that filter. Clicking on it again will bypass it. We have the EQ in and out, a phase inversion, and then our output knob, which is going to give you 12 dBs of plus and minus gain. This is clean gain and will not color your signal at all. The next thing I want to talk about is our peak and RMS in and out. This can be changed by simply just clicking on it, and this will essentially always give you a readout of your overall input and output gain, so you can always have a level matched process. Going to our submenus on the top, you have the Save Default State. This will essentially save the current settings that you have as default, so that when you load up the default preset, it will always load up that way. You have our preset menu, and then you have the ability to save your own custom presets right here, where you can name them, save them, and it'll be saved inside of our menu. The hamburger drop-down menu gives you user guides, set your default size, as well as your themes, licensing status, and the About section. On the bottom, we have our A and B function, which will allow us to have 2 separate styles of processing, so you can easily A and B the settings. You can very easily copy A to B by simply highlighting the one that you want to copy, and then clicking the button to the right of this. And finally, on the right, we have the S button. This will save the size and position of the current instance. This means when you close and reopen your session, this instance will remember where it was placed in the window size and position on the screen. And the very last thing that I want to go over is the ability to bypass individual bands. If you hover your mouse over each individual band and you hit either Command and Option on a Mac or Control and Alt on a PC, you'll be able to gray out multiple bands to bypass them temporarily, and when you release the modifiers, it will go back to normal. And that's it for the basic overall overview. Let's take a look at how this sounds in a track. So what we're going to start off by is listening to the fundamental of most modern music, the bass.
She ain't no average soul. She's got the world on her throat. She ain't no average.
And it is exactly like what I hear. It's a little too woolly, although it sounds great. It's at a good level in the mix, but you lose a lot of detail. So let's use our P450 to bring back some of the uncontrolled low end, bring up the high end, and then maybe add a little bit of grit to help it stand out. Here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is we'll increase the bias, and let's see if we can hear the saturation. I'm going to set it to 0.25. And I definitely hear a little bit of the grit when I'm doing this, and I think we are going to utilize a little bit of it, but we're mostly going to focus on cutting and controlling. So let's listen to it and see what type of low and low mid frequencies we can control. Now that we've done that, let's add some high end. I think that's pretty good. Let's check our peak in and out. Let's see how this sounds in the mix.
She ain't no average soul. She's got the world on her throat.
Cool, I can really hear it stand out now. I'm gonna back off on some of the processing because I feel like it's doing too much gaining on the high end. So I'm gonna do this and then maybe have just a little bit more of the low end brought in because we're using the low cut.
She ain't no average soul.
It's a much more balanced signal. Next, let's take a listen to something that's usually pretty important in a mix. That's gonna be some vocals. We're gonna copy this to our B setting, load our default, and let's just take a listen to how this vocal sounds.
She's got the world on her throat.
So one thing that I'm hearing is that this is definitely a very muddy vocal. It was recorded with an SM7B. So I know that it has a lot of low end and low mid buildup. So let's go ahead, dive in here and try to tweak this to see what we can do to make it sound better.
She ain't no average soul.
Right there, you hear the willingness.
She's got the world on her throat. She ain't no average soul.
Let's use a shelf.
She's got the world on her throat. She ain't no average soul.
Cool. Let's add some mid-range.
She's got the world on her throat. She ain't no average soul.
I think that sounds great. Let's take a listen.
She ain't no average soul.
You still have the warmth and you still have the body, but because we've cut the gain in half on what we're doing when we're cutting and boosting, we're able to get a nice balance. So let's take a listen in the mix.
She ain't no average soul. She's got the world on her throat. She ain't no average soul. She's got the world on her throat.
It sounds like it lifts a veil over the track. There's like a blanket over it. It's gone. And if we look at our previous processing, all I have is a de-esser and then a compressor after this. So all of that veil lifting is being done by just the P450 EQ. Let's try the actual lead hook that we have here. So we have a vocal. This is a rap style vocal, right? We'll go to our B setting and we're gonna actually see what we can do to make this sound good.
Could never say no to you. The blessings have shown the truth. It's your mere presence.
Right away, we're hearing a lot of muddiness. So again, SM7B, especially with a vocal with lots of low end, you're going to need to do a lot of taming.
Could never say no to you. The blessings have shown the truth. It's your mere presence, entire essence, making me feel like only you could be the person to be my soulmate. A free will or some fate, the only place that I want to be. I've been thinking about you constantly. Could never say no to you. The blessings have shown the truth. It's your mere presence, entire essence, making me feel like only you could be the person to be my soulmate. A free will or some fate, the only place that I want to be.
It sounds pretty good. Let's put this in the mix and just see how it sounds. And we're actually going to copy these settings onto the other vocals.
Could never say no to you. The blessings have shown the truth. It's your mere presence, entire essence, making me feel like only you could be the person to be my soulmate. A free will or some fate. Could never say no to you. The blessings have shown the truth. It's your mere presence, entire essence, making me feel like only you could be the person to be my soulmate. A free will or some fate.
That sounds fantastic. It's fitting in the mix a lot better, and it doesn't clash at all. And if we want to, we could actually go ahead and dial back some of that low end that we're cutting. We are using the times 0.5, which means that all of our boosts and cuts are actually not very big. So we're doing about 3 to 5 dBs at most. And even then, it's just general shaping, but it sounds so smooth and natural. The high and low pass filters are great, especially because this EQ definitely emulates the analog bump of the original 5500. So it has that low and high end bump. And the bias knob is really doing a great job of kind of controlling, acting like a sort of saturating dynamic controller. It's not doing traditional compression, but saturation is a form of compression, so it's controlling things in a really nice way. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. This has been Jerry Mateo. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.